What's up, witches? My name is Taylor, and I'm the Tempest Witch here on YouTube. Today we are continuing my series on plant blindness with a very cool plant. Honestly, this thing is pretty great. I grew up calling it lamb's ear. That's what my mama called it. Its scientific name is Verbascum thapsus. Every time I say it, I get better. I'm trying to be better about scientific names, so bear with me. The more common name of this is Mullen. I've heard it said a couple different ways, like Mullein and Mullein. They add different letters to it, but for our purposes, we're calling it Mullen. Now, the cool thing about this herb, it is colt's foot is really good for like lung and respiratory health. Mullen is even better than that. I'm going to kind of explain why it's so cool, how you can identify it, and some things you can do with it. So, let's go. So, Verbascum thapsus. Verbascum thapsus. I'm gonna get it by the end of this video. This plant is really cool. I found one of these on the side of the road as we were taking our dog for a walk the other day. And then last night when we were taking him for a walk, I found another one. So I went, you know what? I feel like this is the universe telling me that I should do a video on this. So we're talking about Mullen today. This is the plant that I found while we were walking, which is super big and beautiful. It's got all these cool leaves that branch out. It's been sitting in the house now for like 12 hours. So I would say it's a little bit wilted, but usually they stand up a little bit more than this and they branch out and full out their leaves. But you can tell a mullein plant very easily by looking at the texture of the leaves, which are very soft and kind of velvety. There's these cute little hairs all over the leaves that if you run your finger across them are very soft. And it's the most identifiable feature about mullein. Now, I figure we would start off with the basics of it, and then I can kind of tell you what you can do with it and how you can use it. Mullein is an expectorant. An expectorant means that it produces phlegm and kind of loosens up the phlegm that you have in your body. So if you have a dry cough, this will produce more saliva, which then allows you to be able to cough out anything that's stuck in your lungs, which is really helpful. It's also a demulcent, which relieves the irritation of the mucous membranes, and also it forms a protective layer in whatever organ it's touching. So if you smoke it, it's good for the lungs. If you ingest it by drinking tea out of it, or a tincture, or some kind of infusion, it's good for your stomach. So if you have like IBS, this is really good for that. It's also I believe it's mucilage. If I'm wrong about that, my bad. I've only seen it written, but it allows the polysaccharides in the plant to produce a gel-like substance, which then soothes irritated tissues, and it soothes inflamed mucous membranes as well, which goes along with the demulcent. So it creates a protective layer in whatever organ it's interacting with, which really helps if you've got any kind of damage. Like we did in our last video, I'm gonna start off with Scott Cunningham. Take everything with a grain of salt. It's mainly just the magical properties and some of the magical uses, but it's not scientific, so if this is not for you, you can skip ahead, but this is for all of the witches and practitioners who want to know these things. So, Mullen, Verbascum thapsus. Folk names include Aaron's rod, blanket leaf, candleswick plant, clot, dovle, filtwort, flannel plant, graveyard dust, hag's tapers, hedge taper, Jupiter's staff, lady's foxglove, old man's fennel, Peter's staff, shepherd's club, shepherd's herb, lamb's ear, torches, velvet back, and velvet plant. So it's gone by 100 different names, but more commonly now it's just mullein. Makes it easy. The gender of the plant is feminine, the planet is Saturn, the element is fire, the deity is Jupiter, and the powers include courage, protection, health, love, divination, and exorcism. Because it expels things. The magical uses include mullein is worn to keep wild animals from you while you are hiking in untamed areas. It also instills courage in the bearer, and a few leaves placed in the shoe helps one from catching a cold. Mullein is also carried to obtain love from the opposite sex. In India, mullein is regarded as the most potent safeguard against evil spirits and magic, and is hung over doors, in windows, and carried in sachets. It is also used to banish demons and negativity, because it expels things. In the Ozarks, men perform a simple love divination. A man went to a clearing where a mullein grew and bent down so it was pointed toward his love's house. If she loved him, the mullein would grow straight upright again, and if she loved another, it would die. Graveyard dust, an infrequent ingredient in spells, can be substituted with powdered mullein leaves. If you haven't seen Bruja Cat's video already, you don't need graveyard dirt. You just don't. You're probably getting it from a cemetery, and you're not asking the spirits for permission, so that's a real easy way to invite a trickster into your life. You don't need graveyard dirt. If you happen to need it for whatever reason, you can use powdered mullein leaves. But you probably don't need it, so ignore that. At one time, witches and magicians used oil lamps to illuminate their spells and rites, and the downy leaves and stems of the mullein was often provided for wicks. It burns really well, which is why it's really good and associated with the element of fire. So, that's Scott. We don't need him anymore.
Put yourself in the bin!
Goodbye. Next, plant names explained. This is by botanical terms in their meetings and horticulture. Actually, I don't know who it's written by. It literally just says horticulture. All right, cool. This is one of those books that I found while thrifting, and I'm like, that's cool. That'd be a nice thing to have. Scientific name, Thapsus. Thapsus, former name of the town in Sicily. Verbascum thapsus, which is for great mullein. And then Thalassus is from Thessalia in Greece. They're just scientific names for places in Sicily and Greece. Cool, good to note. Next, going back to Midwest medicinal plants. This one comes with a disclaimer that I thought was really funny and I wanted to share it with all of you, so hold on. Verbascum thapsus. From roots to flowers, the entire mullein plant can be used in a multitude of ways and remedies for respiratory health, lymphatic support, and musculoskeletal complaints. Pretty nifty, gotta admit. And also the root of the plant extract can noticeably reduce acute inflammation and joint injuries. It goes on to say how it's really easy to identify these plants by their velvety leaves. You just have to look for them. And also they have yellow blooms. So this one wasn't quite ready for blooming yet, but it lays out very flat as I showed you earlier. And then there's a stalk in the middle that grows pretty tall that comes with yellow flowers that look like this. And then there's also a picture of these velvety leaves that you can see. They're really hard to mistake for anything else. So it's a pretty safe bet, but it goes through where, when, how to wildcraft, but we're getting down to the cautions, concerns, and considerations because this made me laugh. Do not use the mullein leaf as toilet paper in the field because the fine hairs aggravate tender membranes. Consider yourself warned. I chuckled a lot at that, so I wanted to share it. Herbal preparations. Mullein tea is just a decoction. You can drink 2 cups as needed. It's just steeping the leaves in the water. You make tea. You can also make a mullein tincture, which is 1 part fresh flowers, leaves, and roots all chopped, with 2 parts menstruum, which is just 50% alcohol, 50% distilled water, 10 to 15 drops 3 to 5 times a day as needed. Personally, I wouldn't think a tincture would work as well for this because you're ingesting it. Like if you're using this for IBS or any sort of stomach issues, fabulous, fantastic, it'll be great. But if you're using this for lung health, you probably want to do this as like a hot tea to get that steam into your lungs. And then also, if you're going to smoke it, would probably be good for your lungs because it's going to create that protective barrier, remember. And then also you can make Mullen Infused Oil, which is 1 part fresh flowers and leaves chopped, and then 2 parts oil, which you can use for massages. If you have really sore and achy muscles, this is really great for that. Any sort of joint pain, this is really good. Overall, it's just a great plant. So that's Midwest Medicinal Herbs. Herbal Medicine by Diane Desin Buckman. Buckman? We're gonna go with that. This is another one of those books that I found thrifting, but this is in the section of coughs, bronchitis, and asthma. And note, this book is a little aged. This is published in 1979, but it still holds up. In the section on coughs, bronchitis, and asthma, it says to use the dried leaves of this wayside weed for pipe smoking. This is an old remedy to control hacking or spasmodic coughs. Again, creates a little bit looser phlegm so that you can cough it out. That is the whole point. You're already coughing, you're gonna want to use this to cough a little bit more. It's like modern day Mucinex, but in plant form. you want to hack it out, so you want to cough. That's why smoking it is recommended. Something that I learned that's really good and holds true is do not pick a plant that the bugs will not eat. So there's parts of this that there's holes in it that the bugs have eaten, so that means this is a good plant. If you find a very pristine plant that nothing's eating, the bugs won't touch it, you shouldn't touch it either. But this is safe because bugs have eaten it, that's great. And then I can just take off this leaf and go through the rest of it. Obviously, there's a lot more leaf than there is root, so I'm gonna keep this to the side and then just cut this up into pieces for decoctions and teas and probably just like an oil for massages. And then I can add that to my apothecary, which is really exciting. I don't know if I mentioned this in the last plant blindness video, but my goal for this year is to forage as much as I can. I want to increase my plant visibility, so the opposite of plant blindness. I want to be able to look at a plant, know what it is, know what it's for, and then use it as needed. And that's what I'm doing. So I've already done dandelions, I've gotten the leaves and the roots, which is really awesome. Now I've got mullein. Who knows what I'm gonna get next, but it's really exciting. All right, so I've explained all of what this is good for. Now how do we use it? With any herb, talk to your doctor first before you ingest anything. Make sure you don't have any allergies or interactions with any medications. From everything that I looked up, mullein really doesn't have a lot of interactions with medications, but just to be on the safe side, make sure, always good. So the best way that I've seen most people using it is as like a tea or a tonic. So you can drink this just by itself with a little bit of honey if you'd like. I've seen most people, they use ginger, like powdered ginger and some cinnamon along with mullein leaf, just to kind of give it a little bit more flavor and make it drinkable, because I've heard that it's a little bitter, so just keep that in mind. If you're making this as a tonic, so like a very heavily brewed, very potent tea, adding ginger and cinnamon again, and then a little bit of lemon helps a lot. Lemon's also good for just like a punch of vitamin C. And then if you're using this as a smoke blend, make sure that your mullein leaf is completely dry, meaning there's no moisture in it whatsoever, or it's not going to burn correctly. And if you put it into paper or some kind of wrap or in a bowl, you can smoke this with rose petals, skullcap, and lavender. Yeah. Maybe I'm gonna go make myself some tea. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're enjoying learning about plant blindness and how to make the world around you a little more medicinal. I hope that you're having fun coming along with this journey of foraging with me. Maybe I'll start bringing you along when I find these things, if I happen to have my phone with me at the time, because I forget my phone a lot. Anyway, I hope you all have a great day. I'll see you on the next one. Skull, my friends.